celebrity Chris Hall is with me here today. Yeah.
Wow, off to a great start.
We're off to a great start.
All right.
He's the author of the book, here in my hand, in front of my face. I'm covering the title. EARTHKING, which came out, when did this come out?
It originally came out in 2015.
2015.
Yeah.
That's what, 7 years ago?
7 years ago.
Man, 7 years.
It's been a long time. Yeah.
Look at that dapper, dapper guy there on the back.
I've been on the waiting list
Yeah.
for Talk to Me the entire time.
True.
So now that we're finally here,
Yeah.
7 years on,
It's been a while.
I was like, let's do it.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah.
7 years in the making.
Yeah.
Chris, I've actually known for a pretty long time, not personally, but we've crossed paths at Gap Community Church before.
Yep. Yep. You know my
Pastor's
family
son.
pretty well.
Very well. So I guess just going right into it, what makes you an author? Why are you an author?
Well, I wrote a book. That generally is what brings the definition. No. Why am I an author? Boy, that's a question I've asked myself a lot of times because it's a lot of work, and sometimes I'm just like, why am I doing this? But the fact of the matter is, I enjoy it. I enjoy writing. I enjoy telling stories that matter to me. I enjoy telling a story that I think will matter to other people, and hopefully help them to learn something along the way. Whether that's just to take life one day at a time or know that there's a God out there who loves them. Stories matter.
Yeah.
And I'm proud that I get to tell at least a couple.
Absolutely. So I got to read a couple chapters of The Earth King. I always wanted to read it, but thank you for bringing me a copy.
Absolutely.
Amazing. What inspired you to write Earth King? Can you give me a little synopsis on a quick little Reader's Digest version?
Sure. So the short version is that I was living out of state back in 2005. And my two brothers, my younger brothers who you know, they were still here in Pennsylvania. They were, I want to say, maybe like 11 and 13, something like that. They were very young. They were growing up very quickly while I was away. And I felt like I needed to do something to kind of pass down some brotherly wisdom. I'm 9 and 11 years older than my brothers. And though they both seem like they know everything now, there was a time when they were very young and were just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and had a lot to take on, and I wanted to help out with that in what way that I could. So that was the reason I started EARTHKING.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did the title come about? That's a very unique title to come up with.
Well, I've always been a fantasy reader. That was always my go-to genre growing up.
What's the go-to book?
Go-to book. Oh boy. The Paradise War by Stephen Lawhead.
Okay, yeah.
Stephen
Never read
Lawhead.
it. It's too thick for me.
He's a great, amazing fantasy author who I grew up just devouring everything he put out. So that is where my mind was when I was like, okay, I want to write something. I've done short stories. I've done like lots of little mini outlines, but there's something bigger kind of brewing under the surface. And it was just a lot of kind of figuring out where I wanted the story to go, what story I wanted to tell. And I knew with the fantastical elements that would be in the story that, there needed to be some sort of supernatural hook to it. I don't remember specifically where the term Earth King came from, but as the characters in it, the bloodline is of kings who can control the earth. They can cause things to grow and move the very ground and stones. The title just kind of came out of that. The Earth Kings. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So this bloodline that you came up with, has this inspired? Did you pull from different fantasy books that you've read, or is it all just kind of came up in your own mind?
Well, it definitely was influenced by a lot of the things I read. Right around that time, the Lord of the Rings movies were coming out, and looking back, I can definitely see a lot of influence there, whether I intended it or not. But I also was studying a lot of Old Testament kind of lore, we'll
Hmm.
say.
Mm-hmm.
So like things that are hinted at
Hmm.
in the Old Testament, and like there are very canonical things,
Hmm.
stories about Watchers and the Nephilim
Mm-hmm.
and all that kind of stuff. It always really interested in me,
Hmm.
whether whether it is turns out to be true to Scripture or not, or if it's just kind of stories that were extrapolated over time.
Hmm.
It didn't matter to me. I found
Yeah.
it really interesting, and so that was a lot of what I was reading and studying up on when I started writing it.
Hmm. That brings into like to how hard is it to write fantasy while being a Christian?
I mean, aside from just the writing being a lot of work itself, just
Yeah.
in any genre, I don't think it's difficult.
Hmm.
There are ways that I tried very hard not to have it be explicitly or
Mm-hmm.
overtly Christian.
Hmm.
I worked in a Christian bookstore
Okay.
when I started writing it, and so I was exposed to all of that kind of
Was it the Salty Fisherman?
culture. No, it was.
Oh, okay.
I would have loved to work at the
Do
Salty
you remember
Fisherman.
those things?
I do.
I can't even find.
That place was great.
I
My
used to go all the
brother-in-law
time.
actually worked there.
Really?
Yeah, years before I knew my wife or his
Anyway,
family.
Oh man.
Yeah. Oh, I would have loved to work there.
Oh.
But no, it was
Great place.
a place called the Vineyard out in Evansville, Indiana.
Nice.
Great Christian bookstore. It's still there, thankfully.
Yeah.
But yeah, I worked there for a couple of years, and so I was very exposed to all of the culture of the Christian entertainment industry.
Got you.
And I didn't really care for it that much. I felt like there was so much tacky stuff put out, so much over the top stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I would rather write something where people read it and see the Christian themes without like being beaten over the head with it.
I think that's a bunch of arguments like with the Chronicles of Narnia and things of that nature. You know, like where's the line kind of draw in between, you know, going too fantasy, going too Christian? Is there an easy medium to be able to show Christ through that?
And it's so subjective because there are people who will look at it and say, oh, geez, this is so just like Christian and sappy. And there are people who say, oh, I don't really see that in there. It's one of those things where it's there if you look for it, but it's not gonna punch you in the face. Yeah,
Absolutely. How many people would you say like have come up to you, you know, in that manner too, and have just been like, this is something that I see Jesus in, you know? Or like, would you say it's more to none than in that ratio?
Yeah, it's parents especially do, because you know it was written for young kids, so like 10 and up. Parents especially really loved it to see that and acknowledge it and are thankful for it. And I'm like, hey, that's great. That's why I wrote it. But then there are plenty of people who read it and like it just, they don't really register it, you know?
Yeah.
But I had a review come out in Publishers Weekly a couple of years after the book was published. And it was a really positive review. It was great. I was really thankful for it. But in it, they said that the Christian worldview or the Christian aspects of it are like not hard to find. And part of me was just like, that's not quite what I was going for. But then I was like, you know what, that it is.
Yeah.
It's as a Christian, whether I wanted it to be overt or not, it is there because that's who I am.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to hide it. I never wanted to like shove it to the side. I just wanted it to be there for those who would look for it. And looking back now, I'm very thankful that people are able to see it.
Yeah.
Because that really does speak to the heart of the story. And my heart and what I was going for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have Cameron or Colby asked for any royalties yet? Because you smashed their names together.
No, thankfully, which is good because I don't really have any to give. I think I've probably given out more copies in the past couple of years than I've sold.
Do you know where you're at on sales? I didn't look into that.
No idea.
I
mean, the first couple of years I kept really close track of it.
Yeah.
But since it's been so long, I just kind of stopped looking.
Yeah.
Now with the second book coming out next year, I'm sure I'll have to kind of focus in more on that. But no, thankfully I haven't asked for that.
A follow-up to that is, how did you know to put which names in front first?
Well, Camel Bee didn't make as much sense. But
I would have loved if you would have named it that, though. I really would have. It just made me laugh.
Yeah, so my brothers Colby and Cameron, it just wouldn't have made as much sense. But Caminor is, well, that's one that I named mostly after Cameron, but Colmarin.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of the mashing of the two of them. And that's the full name. I just call him Cole.
Okay.
Which is, funnily enough, what I call Colby as well. We just call him, everybody just calls him Cole, but it's very different.
Yeah.
Two very different people in my mind.
Absolutely.
Also, Colby's never read the book. So
really?
Yeah. So Colby, if you're watching, I'm calling you out.
Hey.
Again.
Colby, you just had a newborn?
Yeah.
You have some time on your hands?
Yeah, you got plenty of late nights. Like, what are you doing, praying?
You're going to need to go to sleep as well.
Let's go. Yeah. No, I think he has started it. He's had a wild last few years.
Yeah.
Being a missionary in Lebanon right now, it's I'm immensely proud of him.
Yeah.
So, but I like to give him a hard time anyways.
No, absolutely. You always got to.
Yeah.
Especially to watch where you came from. That's
my word.
Such a blessing. Such amazing.
Yeah.
With that, how does your personal testimony kind of go into with you writing? Like, how does that get you to where you are? Have you always been born in the faith? Was there a time when you were like, man, I don't know, kept going? I mean, where does that lie with you?
Yeah. It depends on the day you ask me, I guess.
Absolutely. Amen, brother.
I grew up in a Christian household. My dad, he's a pastor now. He was a prison chaplain for a number of years as I was growing up. But yeah, I went to a Christian school. I had Christian friends and was very much immersed in that bubble. And then as I grew into an adult, began to kind of branch out and learn new things and step out and question and just see where my doubts would lead me. And so there are days where I would definitely say my faith has not only withstood my doubts and shown me who God is, but I also feel freer to voice those doubts because I know that he's big enough to withstand them.
Yeah.
And then there are days where I feel like I don't understand anything. But I've learned that my feelings can be deceptive. So thankfully I was given a really great foundation of faith with my family, and with my wife now, who is just an amazing encouragement. So it's, day by day, but God is faithful, and he's brought me through a lot, and Lord willing, he's got a lot to bring me through still.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amen to that. So going back to the book, what do you think was the most challenging part of writing the book, and what do you think was the most fulfilling part of writing the book?
Well, they're kind of one and the same. The most challenging part was getting it out in front of people.
Okay.
Because it's something I spent years writing. From the time I started it to the time I finished it and had it in a published form was about 10 years.
Okay.
So unfortunately, my brothers who I wrote it for were already much older.
Yeah.
They aged out of it by the time it was finished. But
maybe not Cameron.
Well, maturity-wise. The hardest part is putting it in front of people.
Yeah.
But also the most fulfilling part is having people read it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's a risk reward kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've done some like book signing tables at some local like vendor holiday markets in the past month. And I'm not a salesman. So I'll talk to people if they come up and, tell them about the book, but I'm just not somebody to grab them as they walk by. Like, hey, do you like to read such and such? Like, I got this, come on over.
Just start chucking books at their heads.
So that's really tough for me. But it's exciting when people, get interested and then they buy and read. And especially if they let me know that they liked it, or even if they didn't like it, or what they did like or didn't like. I'm always glad to interact with a reader, especially kids. Kids really, really seem to enjoy it, and that is incredible because I was that kid. I was that kid who loved to read these stories and just sit and devour a book for hours and just get taken away. And so to be able to give that gift to a new generation is incredible.
Such a blessing.
It really is. It's amazing. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know we talked about the book, what the book is, but what would you say really got you into reading, and why do you think that is so important and, to this generation coming up?
Well, my mom was always a big reader.
Okay.
So I grew up in a house where she was always reading and there were always books around. I specifically remember one summer when I was probably 7. It was right around the time I was learning to read. My mom gave our TV away for the summer.
All right.
And I was like, what am I supposed to do? She's like, well, you got Legos and you got books.
Wow.
So that summer definitely kind of lit the creative spark in me. That kind of slowly burned and took over. Yeah.
Nice. So moving forward with, should I say? Should I say? There's a new book coming out, right?
Yeah.
The EARTHKING.
The EARTHKING Chronicles Book 2, The Greenkind War.
Ooh.
Yep. It picks up about a year and a half or so after the end of Book 1.
Okay.
It's a big book. I spent probably about 5 years working on it, I think.
Okay. So you've been hard at work.
Yeah. It's been written and rewritten and gone through and gone out to beta readers, and it's ready after the first of the year to for me to kind of take another crack at it. And I'm going to get together with my my cover artist, a guy named mythical, who was he was an art student in Lancaster when I met him.
Awesome.
And does incredible work, does great work. It's one of the things I'm most pleased with about publishing this book was the cover. Like he just did an amazing job.
It's a great cover.
And so I'm going to have him do the second one just because I love continuity.
Yeah.
And I love Mike. So after the first of the year, going to meet up with him and get things rolling on the cover and probably do a Kickstarter.
Okay.
So that we can cover that and cover the editing costs as well as the actual printing costs.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm really excited for book 2.
Yeah.
It's a story I absolutely love. And I'm excited for people to read it. I mean, it's been a long time coming. I've had some people be very patient.
Yeah.
I've had some people be not so patient.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the fact that they're interested. So it works for me. So this is all, even though it's been 7 years since the first book was published, in some ways it's like starting over to get the word out again.
Yeah.
But I've also had 7 years on my belts to kind of learn and grow from the first time around.
Yeah.
And now I get out and be a little bolder with it.
Yeah. I was going to say, is it easier now to put the book together than it was the first time?
Yeah.
Because you said, 10 years
in
now
some ways, yeah.
Into 5. Walk me through that process. I mean, what is, in your mind, what do you do to go through this book writing process?
So my process, I'm not sure how many other writers do it this way. I know some do. Everybody has their own kind of way of doing it, but I generally start with the big picture outline.
Okay.
I know where it starts. I know a bunch of stuff in the middle. I know where it's going to end. And then I kind of start piecing it together bit by bit as I go through. And a lot of times during the day at work, I'll be thinking of it, or I'll see something that'll give me an idea, and then just quick jot some notes and figure out, okay, well, where in the story would this fit?
Yeah.
And if it does, why would it fit? What does it mean for the rest of this stuff?
Yeah.
And so, it's basically just like taking A, M, and Z and then filling in F and S, and then the letters in between each, and just slowly fleshing it out more and more, like getting it more into the nitty gritty and the detail as I go along.
Yeah.
And then going back and chucking out a whole bunch of it and rewriting and writing
just keep
and just keep chipping away. So book 1 is 80,000 words.
Okay.
The rough draft of book 2 was 160,000 words.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Woo.
And so the current draft, which is pretty close to the final draft of book 2, is 120,000 words. So it's a good deal thicker than the first one, and I cut out quite a bit.
This is pretty,
yeah,
pretty hefty.
Yeah. So, but there's just something really fulfilling about being able to finish it, put it together, and like it. Because it doesn't always happen that way. I mean, I've worked on other projects where I get really excited and then it just kind of fizzles out. I'm like, I have no idea where to go with this. But there's just something, to me, there's something very special about the EARTHKING Chronicles where I'm excited to get back into it, and I don't know, it just feeds itself in a way. Yeah.
That's awesome. You said there the certain parts you have to cut out. You know, how do you determine that specifically? Because I know I'm not a writer or an author by any means, but I've dabbled to try and write some books here and there. And when I go back, I always find myself cutting out so much, and I'm like, well, I just cut half of the book, so I'm not even going to do it anymore.
That's great. They say kill your darlings.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's just, sometimes you get further along in the story and something you wrote before just doesn't make sense anymore. It just doesn't fit anymore. And so even if it was a great scene and you loved it, you have to get rid of it because it doesn't serve the greater story.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just the flow doesn't fit. Sometimes, sometimes it just doesn't fit. And that takes a sort of brutal honesty with yourself to get rid of things that you like. Yeah.
Especially after spending all that time on it and piecing through. So how do you get to the end? Do you have the end in mind when you start, or do you just kind of go chronologically?
Generally, like I said, I kind of have the beginning, the end, and a few parts in the middle.
Yeah.
And then just kind of flesh it out as you go
through that. Yeah. But isn't that hard to remember certain parts though? To get to the end. If you had let's say there's a certain stone that does something and you forgot that it did that halfway through.
Oh yeah, I've done that. Yeah. No, I've absolutely done that. Yeah, definitely. There's two things to do with that. One, you go back and you have to cut it out and just say, crap, well, maybe I'll save that for something else. Or you just leave it and say, okay, I will expand on that in the next book.
Okay.
I give myself room to kind of make it more of a thing later on.
Gotcha.
But then you got to keep remembering it. Okay. So in that scenario, you have to really really hold on to it and make sure that it's worthwhile. Otherwise you're just wasting your time and the reader's time.
It's side note.
Yeah.
Post it right on the wall.
Yep.
Not even forgetting it. So what are some of the things we can expect out of the new book without giving too much spoilers away?
Yeah. So the new book, called The Greenkind War, has a couple new characters who are main character viewpoints. One is a baker who hears a song that nobody else can hear.
Okay.
And the other is his daughter, who wants nothing to do with her father anymore because he's gone crazy. Jeez. So, and they're Merton and Helena are their names, and they're a lot of fun. I really enjoy them, and I think they go alongside Cole's continuing story very well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What does this feel like for you to be able to pass this down to your kids now?
It's, it's exciting. So my son Peter is 3, and he can kind of read a little bit. Not to sit down and read a book, but can read things on signs and little kids' books and things like that. But he recognizes EARTHKING.
Okay.
And he'll always go, Daddy, it's EARTHKING. It's your book. And he gets really excited about it. And so even though he can't read it yet, even if he could, it's a little over his head. Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited for him to pick it up, and my daughter as well when she's a little bit older. And yeah. And by then, hopefully, second, third, fourth books will be out. Hey, so yeah,
keep it going.
Just got to keep at it.
Well, that's the thing, because this is Earth King Chronicles almost, right? So I mean, do you expect to keep going?
Yeah. So there are 4 books planned for the series. Nice. Like I said, the second one is finished. Third one I have outlined. Okay. As well as some rough kind of middle stuff. Okay. Kind of floating around up here. And then
wrap it out of nowhere.
And then I have a general idea of the arc of the 4th book as well, and where the whole series will end. Nice. Yeah. So it's currently 4 books, but there's room for more if I decide. There's a whole lore and history with the Earth Kings and the lineage before Cole.
Gotcha.
That can be explored and is explored to an extent in book 2. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty to build on if I decide to keep doing it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Even from the couple chapters I read, I some of the vibes that I got from it was like, this could almost be like a Game of Thrones type series, because now you can dig into the back, like how they're doing with House of Dragons now, and going through that, which is pretty cool, I think. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and that's always excited me about it, is that there is more to dig into if I want to, and there's just there's plenty I can use, and it's. Like I said, it kind of feeds itself in a lot of ways. Yeah.
That's awesome. When can we expect a new book?
Hopefully spring. Like I said, after the first of the year, once the holidays are over, I'm going to hit the ground running and try and get things moving as quickly as possible.
Nice.
But yeah, sometimes it just takes a little while, but yeah. I'm shooting for spring.
Okay. Shooting for springtime.
Yep.
You mentioned a Kickstarter. Where can we get some people to go to a Kickstarter and help you out?
I don't have it set up yet.
All right.
But keep an eye on my website.
Okay.
ChrisHallWrites.com. As well as at the Facebook page, Christopher C. Hall, author.
Okay.
Yep. My Instagram is also Chris Hall Writes.
All right.
So
I'll have that down in the link in the description as well, too.
It's all there.
And for the first book, where can people find this at?
You can get it on my website, ChrisHallWrites.com. Or on Amazon.
Or on Amazon, too, as well. What are these bad boys going for?
Right now on Amazon, they are $14.99.
$14.99.
Yeah. But if you catch me at like a book sale or something like that, they're a little bit cheaper, and I sign it.
Where are you normally at for book sales? Just kind of
pop up here and there.
All right. Keep an eye out. We'll check that out, too.
Yep.
$14.99. Good holiday gift.
Great holiday gift.
I'm just saying.
A signed copy makes a great gift.
Always. Personalized message.
Yep. If you're anywhere in the area and you have a copy and you want me to sign it, I'll meet up with you. If you just want to buy one from me directly and have me sign it, I'm happy to do that.
There it is.
Yeah.
And as soon as he has the Kickstarter up too, I'll put that in the link.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well. No matter whenever this goes out, we'll figure that out too as well.
That'd be great.
Awesome, my friend. I have one last question for you. I ask everybody that comes on here this question.
Okay.
If you were to tell someone that didn't believe in God or Jesus, what would you tell that person?
Doesn't believe. You may not believe in him, but he believes in you. And he loves you.
Simple. Simple and profound. That's awesome. My friend, thank you for coming on. Honored to see you again. It's been a while.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been a great pleasure.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
This is awesome, man. Love to do it again when the second book comes out.
Oh, absolutely.
Just gets you even more promotion on that.
Yeah.
Look out for the Earth King Chronicles number 2 in the springtime. This has been Chris Hall, everyone. Thank you so much, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good one, guys.